watch him throw the ball. We gon' pick it off. You gon' let him hit the hole or you gon' cut it off. You gon' play through 4th and long or you gon' punt it off. Your defenders, heavy hitters, put your pads in. Don't be looking for the ref to throw no flags in. Keep the helmet on, keep the cleats tight. You the type to want to win by any means, right? You should look alive. This is Trap or Dive.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Welcome in. Welcome in. How's everybody doing today? Oh, let me go ahead and get this screen thing going. There we go. JB, I see you. Beat Dallas. Out 2. I came prepared. I watched that all 22. Wentz is trash. Oh, man. That second half collapse is like 80% on him. Out 2 said he came prepared with the all 22 numbers. I forgot to put my notes into my little outline. That's crazy. Hey, but how everybody doing, man? Appreciate y'all checking in. Welcome into another episode of the Trap or Die podcast provided to you by 214 Media. I am your host, Mual, Hen Dog Mual, Coach Mual, all that good stuff. The fellas are on the way. And we're going to talk about a couple things in the aftermath of Washington, Philly. And to be honest with you, I'm over on YouTube today, Brody. Can't do the ads. I respect that, Ralph. Appreciate you checking in. I'm going to get the good man Dre in this thing right quick. Boom, there we go. What's going on, Dre? How you feeling today, big dog?
What's good, man? Shit, had to take a little mental break from that damn game on Sunday, but I'm much better. It's Tuesday, so.
How your weekend go with the spread and money lines and all that stuff?
It was a so-so weekend. It wasn't the best of weekends. You know what I'm saying? We'll bounce back.
Already, man. You know, I did pretty good, man. What really killed me was that goddamn the Cowboys and Giants, man. I took the under on that junk. And I think it was at 38.5. Final score 26-13, bro. 26-13, bro. that goddamn. See, that's why that half point can hurt you. You either buy it up or buy it down, man. You got to figure something out. But it ends up burning me in the end. I thought I was good for even going into halftime.
So too. Shit, it's like 6-6 most of the game.
Yeah, it was, bro. It was. Hey, look, every week we're gonna make this a thing. I cannot not allow it to be a thing with AJ, Brad. Let's go ahead and get AJ in this show. see what name he got for the fellas and the ladies in here checking in on Trap or Die. Let me go remove that comment right quick. What that thing say? Can God play offensive line? AJ, what's going on, big dog? How you feeling today? We're going to wait till you done chewing. Oh, there we go. All right, bet. You here. All right, okay. So,
nah, I said
fellas,
I'm doing good. I didn't know if you could hear me or not.
All right, yeah, now you good now.
They had the military leg.
No bullshit. So fellas, man, y'all kind of know why we here, bro. Philly, the Philly game, you know, we're closing the book on that, and obviously doing a little bit of forward thinking with this team. And I think the frustrated thing with a lot of people, now not the people who listen to us. I think they've been listening and watching for a long enough period to kind of understand that, you know, whether for good or for bad, I think the level of biasness, at least when it comes to Washington, isn't necessarily there. Like we'll cut it to you straight as far as our opinions, but I only bring this up to say, you know, when you lose the way in which Washington has done over the past 2 games, you know, there's not going to be much good that comes out of that. And I think to start this aftermath show, closing the book on the Philadelphia Eagles, I think there was like small nuggets that you can take away from this. Like, and before we get into the meat of the show, the small takeaways that you get away from this, and my biggest thing is Duron Payne. I mean, Jonathan Allen had himself a solid day for the most part against the run, but Duron Payne. And it's a conversation that we really should start thinking about as this season goes along. Like, if it's sustainable, this was a season where a lot of people thought that Washington could move on from Duron Payne and the way that this defense played against the Eagles, but more importantly, the consistency that you're seeing 3 games into Duron Payne's 2022 campaign. I'm starting to think that he's forcing the issue here. Now, personally, somebody asked me if I would re-sign him, like if it was between him and Sweat, and I said that I need to see a full season from Duron Payne. But I am acknowledging right now, fellas, that he is in a situation where if he continues playing the way he's doing, he's gonna force the narrative and force Washington's hand. Like, hey, y'all can't just get rid of me. Y'all gonna have to do something, either franchise me or extend me. But or I'm gonna just go on the market and get paid because I'm hooping this year, and y'all can't deny it. The numbers can't deny it. PFF, y'all best friend can't deny it. I'm hooping this year. So fellas, what do y'all think about some positives? But obviously, Duron Payne, what do you think about him as well?
Yeah, I think with Duron Payne, the conversation has to be him or Montez Sweat at this point. And originally, I would have said Montez Sweat because he plays the premium position, the edge rusher. But Montez Sweat just still leaves a lot to be desired. Like, I just still haven't seen it here to say this is a guy I really want to pay big bucks at edge, especially if you're going to be paying Chase in a couple of years, assuming Chase is the player you drafted. So right now, yeah, Duron Payne, I think he's forcing their hand to say, you have to pay me. And, I will hope he's here, with the season he's playing. I mean, granted that, assuming that he continues to play at this level that he's playing at. So for me, yeah, he has to keep it up. And if he does, yeah, I'm keeping him here.
AJ, what you got about your boy Duron?
Yeah,
Deep Pizzle.
I mean, with Duron, I felt like you should have.
Terrible nickname. I ain't doing that again.
Yeah, I just try to ignore it, try to help you out and bypass it. But but yeah, with Duron, I would have re-signed him last year. I would be trying to get a deal done right now, because I felt like he never had a bad season here for real. I think that the expectation for the defensive tackles have always been to get a bunch of sacks. Because I remember when we first kind of started the show, the main conversation we were having was like, who would you keep, Allen or Payne? Mm-hmm. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I was like, if I had to pick between the two, I would pick Payne. But in all honesty, you can keep both. You're not paying a quarterback, so you're not paying no premium dollars to a quarterback. So you can really keep Payne and Allen and also Sweat. Yeah, Payne is not going to make the same amount as Allen unless he hits the open market. Even with the franchise tag, it still won't be what Allen is getting paid per year. It'd be a little bit lower. I think it'd be probably like around 18.1 or probably 18.3. So I just feel like, it's opportunity for them to have foresight and to try to get him some guaranteed money right now and get that deal done. Yeah, he could sit back and be like, no, I'm going to wait until free agency. But as we all know, it's football. Guys are getting hurt left and right. You just don't want to even be put in that situation. So that's a compromising thing that you want to use as a negotiating tactic and get those guys to possibly sign now instead of waiting until March of next year when they could get some new money and have some type of security financially for themselves going forward. But yeah, I mean, he's doing his job, man. And I feel like he definitely either worked with somebody new this offseason or maybe, even sat coming in for a little bit and helping out. He was able to understand pass rushing a little bit more because you're seeing that too. You're not just seeing him stop the run, but you're seeing his pass rushing skills improve a lot. And Payne is probably, 24, 25? Mm-hmm. He's only going to get better with time alongside being able to play with Jonathan Allen, Sweat, and Young for years to come.
Yeah, Ralph was a little surprised by me. He, we had a conversation, and we had the conversation, so it's not unfamiliar with you all, AJ and Jerry, but he's surprised that I'm giving some credit to Duron, and I think the whole basis of my conversation was like, you got to understand like who he was in the moment. Like he wasn't that much of an effective pass rusher. He did win, in terms of getting home, but he did win. Like he had that quickness, he had that explosiveness at the snap, right? But ultimately, like, my thing was you kind of had to see how he used his hands, how he was able to win against some of these guys. And throughout the first 3 weeks, now I haven't really looked extensively against the Eagles in terms of the defensive side of the football, but the first 2 weeks, at the very least, you're seeing something in terms of consistency, like how active his hands are in like a rush plan. Like that's the most important thing. He has a rush plan at the snap. And I think one of the things that he said to I think it was London Fletcher, at some point last week, he said one of the things that he had to understand was like the energy it takes also to transition from, being able to defend the run, but also now you have to get upfield and get to the quarterback. Like that's a whole different set of energy that he's having to understand, comprehend, and get better at, and also like have that motor to get to the quarterback. And it's a lot of factors that, when you hear from the player himself, you understand his side. And then also from the personal development, like you said, AJ, like whatever he did, whether it's through SAP or a personal trainer or anything like that, like you can't account for that. If you're from the outside, only Duron Payne can account for that and how it works for him. So I'm actually very excited to see where it goes for him. I would love to keep Duron Payne on the team, but my decision, I still got to wait and see based on these last couple years, with Duron and generally that defensive line altogether. I think it is a good sign if you can keep majority of those first round picks that you drafted, because letting them go, like then that all means like for what? Like what were you able to do with the players on your team prior to letting them go? And the answer right now, as it stands, week 4, heading into week 4 of 2022, is I've done nothing with these guys.
And then on top of that, if you even look at the depth chart, man, they're not in a position to get rid of Duron Payne and not bring him back or not franchise him. When you get rid of Ioannidis and Tim Settle, then on top of that, you draft with the second round pick Mathis, who's going to be coming off of an ACL injury. Who else do you have at D tackle? You're gonna have to either spend money in free agency or draft.
Well, they got Ridgeway, man. D-tackle. They love a little. They love Ridgeway. You know what I'm saying, the guy they just picked up.
Yeah, man.
Apparently, Cowboys love him.
So that's so that's why I'm like, man, you might want to try to get this deal done now, because all the leverage is in his hand, especially if he stays with this team.
Yeah, I agree. For me, like I said, with Duron, he just has to keep on playing the level he's playing at, and you would like to see that this staff just finally be proactive, for once, and getting on top of this. I mean, they did it with John Allen. I mean, they've always shown they like John Allen. I thought they waited a little bit late with Terry, but I mean, with Duron, like I said, you want to kind of get on this early. I definitely agree with AJ. So hopefully something gets done during the season, or else you are stuck in that tricky place that you were with Brandon Scherf for a couple of years. Like, I feel like they would probably franchise Duron, but you don't want to go through that slippery slope, because the franchise tag just never worked here. We've seen it with Kirk Cousins, Brandon Scherf. They always, they take the bag and then they end up rolling out when you get tired of franchise tagging them. So I do hope they get on this early with Duron before we get to that portion of, are we going to pay him? Are we going to franchise him? Or what are we going to do with him?
All right, so I do see everybody in the chat. Welcome in. Administrative item in whichever way you are watching or listening. Twitch, YouTube, make sure you hit that like button, make sure you hit that subscribe/follow button. We definitely appreciate it, man. We ain't that far away from 1K subscribers on YouTube, so we truly appreciate the support. We appreciate all the minutes or seconds that you give us throughout the week, and letting us know how you feel about these Commanders. Another thing, schedule-wise, fellas, and y'all are new to this, so y'all are gonna, this first time y'all hearing it too, but y'all already knew I was going to Dallas. So there's no post-game show Sunday after the Dallas game, but also my job is sending me on work travel the very second I get home from the Dallas trip. So next week altogether, whether it's recording or streaming, is going to be tough. So for everybody that's listening, we may try to get like a recorded session in for Trapper Dive podcast.
Let's do Twitter Spaces.
Even that is unpredictable, because like I'm gonna be in the field, but I'm not against it. We could definitely try to get that Twitter Spaces done. It'll be easier.
Where are they sending you to? Waldorf?
No. No, but I'm. They got me going to Shreveport, Louisiana, Magnolia, Arkansas.
Damn.
And some random ass place in Texas, bro. Yeah, they got us on the move. So yeah, that's gonna be Tuesday through Friday. So I don't know how this thing gonna work, but Twitter Spaces, I'm with that, man. We ain't doing Twitter Spaces in a minute, AJ. So we could try to figure something out with that one. So yeah, just administrative items in terms of our scheduling, y'all. So just be on the lookout. No shows, maybe no shows altogether next week, except for Monday. Maybe we can do Monday afternoon. Because I get home Monday morning or something like that. I don't know. We'll talk about it. But just letting everybody know what our schedule is for at least next week. Okay. So fellas, now we got to get into the nitty gritty, man. Ron Rivera is something. I don't even know if this part is important. I'll talk about it if it's worth like bringing up, but it really bothered me, and it's not related to the question I was going to ask, so I'll just save it if the topic comes up. But how does Ron Rivera realistically change the current path that this team is headed down or heading toward for 2022? And I know 3 games in, the easiest thing for everyone to say, and admittedly, they are right. Contextually speaking, they are right. It's only 3 games in. We don't know what the path is headed. But I think based on, and what really got me thinking about this, AJ, we were in the spaces earlier today. And to long story short, so I can get back to the question, I heard somebody say, and I don't remember who it is. I would imagine it was the guy CJ. He had said it's only 3 weeks in or something like that. There's other teams out there who are 1-2 or 0-3 or something like that, and they're doing just fine or something like that, something to that nature, and things like that. And it dawned on me, and not even dawned on me, but my question that I had listening to it was like, how many of those teams have a head coach who is in their 3rd year who has bigged up the 3rd year being very important, but also that team who is struggling or gotten off to a 1-2 start in a season in which the schedule was quote unquote favorable for you early on has looked similar to the prior years, in the prior years in which they struggled, some of those same issues that exist. So the reason why I say, how does Ron change the current path of this team while it's only 3 weeks? This is something that we've seen before. How does it change? How does it realistically change? How does Ron right the ship for 2022?
I think.
Look, you got. I understand where you at. We know where you thinking, AJ, but we gotta try to find something to fix it. If we want to have a season to enjoy, I guess, from a football standpoint.
I mean, I think he should treat it like the last ride for himself, because at this point, man, he's not gonna be an NFL head coach after this season, because it's like, you know, that's the thing about being in those spaces. I really get in there just to hear like people's perspective, and sometimes a part of me I can't hold back from like challenging some people's mindset, because even today in the space, someone told me that next year I presented them with the option of moving.
Oh yeah, Sam Howell.
Wentz, moving past Wentz next year, and if you have a top 3 pick between picking Bryce Young or CJ Stroud, and this motherfucker told me on the space that he'd rather start Sam Howell, a 5th round pick, and use that pick on a tackle or linebacker, because it's too much of a risk to draft an Alabama quarterback and an Ohio State quarterback, because you never know how it's gonna work. As if like anybody is guaranteed a draft pick working, especially in the 1st round. So it's like some of these fans are just, damn, idiots.
Look, what you don't
say. I'll just say idiots. Some are really idiots. There's some that really are too caught up in their fandom. There's some that realize that they're fans, but they also understand football and they also understand the ins and outs of how other teams maneuver. And I just feel with this situation with Ron, it's like just let this shit play out. I mean, it's not gonna change. Like, I don't know why people keep thinking that something's gonna change. Like, the time period that you had for things to change was during the off season when you had OTAs, you had mini camps, you had training camp, you had the opportunity to add to your roster, take away from your roster, add to your staff. All those things have bypassed. You're now in a situation where wins count, losses count. Nothing's going to turn around. Like, his philosophy is not changing. The person that he is who he is. The message either is going to get to the guys or not, and it's not getting to the guys. And he also doesn't have the personnel or staff to really do what we even think he wants to do. I mean, just think about it. Even in the space today, somebody was like, Ron mentioned that this team was a rebuilding team. I don't remember that. Maybe I ignored it.
He did. He had said it.
Okay.
But he spoke on it in the sense of like it takes for a complete rebuild to turn around or whatever.
This was after the playoff berth, right?
No, this was before. This was like his intro presser type. Like he was talking about like 3 to 5 years for a full rebuild or something like that. I'm from the military or military background. It takes like 3 to 5 years for a full turnover / rebuild or something like that. So this was like 2020, like, or when he got the job. Yeah, 2020. That's when he got the job. So yeah, I mean,
yeah. So if you're rebuilding, why are you getting rid of your younger assets that can actually contribute? Like, you don't get rid of an Ioannidis. You don't get rid of a Settle. You don't lose a DeAndre Carter that you found in a kick returner, punt returner, and could possibly play wide receiver. And then you replace those certain guys with individuals like an Andrew Norwell, a Trey Turner, and then you go and make a trade for Carson Wentz. So you really believe that you're still rebuilding and you want this so-called youthful team. You don't make some of these moves. You feel me? Like, and that's where I guess I'm confused, because I don't remember the word rebuild ever coming out. And now it's past that point. It's year 3. Like, I don't even know of him being a part of a rebuild. I guess Carolina was a new franchise, but before he got that job, who was the head coach, the white dude? Damn.
You talking about
the head coach of the Panthers?
Matt Rule.
Yeah, before Ron.
Oh damn.
Steve Smith,
damn, dude with
Muhammad.
Jake Delhomme. Fox or something like that. John Fox.
Yeah, it was John Fox. So he wasn't ever really a part of a rebuild to say that he has the knowledge of rebuilding, because that team never moved on from Cam Newton, and a lot of the nucleus pieces such as a Kuechly, Thomas Davis, Greg Olsen, Ryan Khalil, and so on stayed there. They were a veteran team. So it's like, at the end of the day, for me as a fan, I don't give a fuck what Ron Rivera does anymore, because I know the writing is there. The writing is on the wall that he will not be the head coach of this team next year, and he possibly could get even fired during season, because it's going to get ugly. It's going to continue to go down this path.
Yeah, I guess to answer Jamal's question, I too have lost, a little bit of hope in this coaching staff. But I mean, if we're talking about what they can do, to try to change something this season, first thing they have to do is they have to start playing with more urgency. Ron has to preach that to everyone in that building, that we have to play like we actually want to come out and play. I mean, it's not even just the players, it's the coaches as well. I mean, everyone's starting slow, and this is no excuse. You're coming out and you're getting blown out in first halves of games, and in the second half, the Detroit game, they tried to make that a game, but then this past week, they just never were able to make it a game because no one played with a sense of urgency. So Ron has to kind of preach that throughout the building, and it starts with him. I mean, when you got him sitting out there not being able to throw a damn challenge flag out before, the Eagles snap the ball, I mean, he's just sitting around lackadaisical too. I mean, that's just stuff like that that's costing them games because it starts from the top down. And then second thing for me, stop playing names or familiarity or trying to fit guys in the, square pegs into round holes. And I can start with the offensive line. Like, I mean, Wes Schweitzer, I know they played him as an emergency center last year, but that's because they had to. They had like 4 or 5 guys. I mean, 4 centers go down, and he was playing center for a couple of those games. And now, I mean, you just signed a guy. I think they signed a guy named Nick Martin or something. He played the Texans. I'm not sure how good he is at center, but you need a natural center right there, right now. I mean, I know Chase Roullier is hurt, but you're going to have to play a natural center because, I mean, I noticed that was something that had bothered me in that game this past week was Schweitzer just didn't look comfortable at center. I mean, whether it be taking on some of those defensive tackles that the Eagles had or him just snapping the ball. Like he wasn't, I didn't feel like a lot of the snaps were clean. And that's just one of the players that I feel like they're just playing, because, we're familiar with him and he played that position for a couple of games last year. And then also on that offensive line, like Trey Turner and Norwell, both of those guys are just kind of looking old and slow out there. I mean, Norwell probably can put it together, but I don't know how much faith I have in Trey Turner anymore. So, I mean, you got to start exploring your opportunities there. I mean, I know you have the young boy Chris Paul. They may not want to rely on him yet, but another conversation we may have to have is Sam Cosby. I mean, I feel like he gets beat a lot on that right tackle. I mean, he might be someone I want to move inside or something and maybe put Cornelius Lucas on the outside. Yeah,
but Drake, that is the issue. That's what I'm saying. A lot of these things that we talk about with this team, it starts before the season. Because if you look at Sam Cosmi's tape coming out of Texas, he struggled against speed rushers. And it's the same thing happening here. Like the league is not about power rushers anymore. Like it's speed rushers coming off the edge. And it's the same thing he's struggling with here. It's like your scouting department does not know what kind of plays they really want to play football these days. The game has passed them by. And maybe what Ron is asking of them is something from the past, because what you're highlighting is what I seen on tape of him coming out of Texas.
Yeah, but I mean, and that's the thing. Okay, we noticed that, but at some point, why are we so late to react? I mean, we did the same thing with Jamin Davis last year. We talked about him trying to play Mike middle linebacker position. It takes you 14, 15 games to say, oh, we can't play him at middle. We have to put him off ball. So, I mean, maybe that's something they're going to have to. I mean, we're just talking hypotheticals here as far as trying to, right this ship and hope they right this ship. One of those things might be Sam Cosby just can't play right tackle right now in this league. Not with the way this league is moving. Move him inside or something, because you are struggling inside right now. Try him on the inside. You got Cornelius Lucas, who I think is one of the better swing tackles in the league. Put him out there right tackle. I mean, that's just some of those things that could just help this offense, because you don't want to wait too late to react on that. I mean, even on the defensive side of the football, I mean, the secondary we're looking at, there's not a playmaker in the secondary. I thought Benjamin St. Juste played great, on the outside this week. I mean, that's exactly where he should be. But right now they got him playing slot corner because they just don't want to move away from Kendall Fuller and William Jackson playing those outside corners. But at some point, like AJ was saying, I know he mentioned it on Twitter, at some point you might have to start thinking about putting Fuller back at the free safety spot to let him be a playmaker, because we don't have anybody playmaking right now. I mean, you can still play Bobby McCain in here, but he never plays the ball. The first time I see him make a play on the ball, the next time will be the first time. So I mean, but other than that, I mean, that's some things that you have to start looking at with this team. Like, stop waiting so late to say, this guy should be playing here versus here. And then the coaching staff. My last thing, you have to start holding these coaches accountable. Now, Scott Turner is a guy that, I've been supporting for the last couple of years, because I felt like, hey, he hasn't had the personnel to kind of open up his playbook. But you've run out of the excuses this year. And that was one of the things I talked about this offseason, is you're going to get an answer one way or another on a lot of these guys, between Ron Rivera, Carson Wentz, Scott Turner. You're going to get your answer on all of these guys really this year. And that's why we are even entertaining the thought that Ron may not be here this year, because he's put his stamp on this team. And we're not just losing. You're not going out there looking like an NFL team for like at least a half or so. And that's just going to get worse and worse. You're going to start losing guys. So you have to start holding your coaches accountable. And one of those things, like I said, with Scott Turner, he doesn't look prepared in these games. The first game they played, he had a nice script. They came out and they scored 2 touchdowns, and the offense was on fire. The last 2 games, Scott Turner looks like he's just out there saying, I'm going to run my shit. No matter if it's not working, I'm just going to keep running this shit. And and run it to the ground, and I'll adjust maybe later in the second half. And that is killing this team. You cannot do that. And Ron has to hold him accountable. Ron has to say, Scott, you have to adjust faster. I'm giving you a lot of responsibility. I put the offense in your control. You have to get these guys going. Do not wait until the second half to say, oh, we have to adjust this. I mean, the second half, I started seeing them leaving tight ends to block and help the offensive line, but they weren't doing that early on. They were still passing the ball like they had all day. And there was never, where was the motions? Where was the short games? There was none of that going on in that game. So it's just hold your coaches accountable, because right now they are kind of holding this team back. I mean, regardless of the roster, this coaching staff is holding the team back.
Well, and it's also like Ron brought the same people that he lost with in Carolina over to Washington. And it's like nothing's going to change. I feel like some coaches, when you get fired from a situation like that, you probably need some time off to probably adjust to the game and understand things a little bit better. Like be able to take a deep dive. He got fired, and maybe 2-3 weeks later he got hired by Washington. And then he just brought the same people that he just got fired with over to Washington. And I guess some people were like, oh yeah, he's going to change the culture. If you're losing, culture doesn't get changed.
Yeah, accountability is really key here, and something that I agree with on all phases of accountability, whether it's players, coaches, and self evaluation. One thing that really stands out to me, and it's Mark has actually brought it up. Ron Rivera rather call out the players and his coaching staff. Something that actually got to me today. And obviously I'll tap into, how do I think they changed the direction of this team? To be honest, I'll be quick with this part. That offensive line definitely needs a complete makeover. And you got to figure out how to get the best five out there. That's a common sentiment that I agree with. Obviously you're going to have Leno on your left side, but the interior, Nick Martin has to be a center, or Wes Martin. One of them have to be a center, but you have to have Wes Schweitzer back at left guard or right guard. You have to have Chris Paul out there as well. And maybe if you're comfortable with Sam Cosby out there, okay, cool. In terms of right tackle, okay, cool. But if you're going to put or think about Lucas having a right tackle, who I didn't think played good last year, to be honest with you all. The swing tackle thing, it is what it is, but I don't think he played that good last year. But if you want to put him out there to start, then obviously you kick Cosby in and you keep Paul as a immediate backup or something like that, because these guys can't go it. You have to find a way to protect Carson Wentz moving forward, because you have, again, 14 games left. You cannot allow him to get sacked on an average of seven sacks a game over the last 2 weeks, if my math is right, or something like that. But that's one of the things on the offensive side. But back to my point with Rivera and what Marcus mentioned, Ron Rivera rather call out players and his coaching staff. Something that really bothered me today, man, was like I continue to think that he's focused on some of the wrong things, or that he just really doesn't understand this market. And what happened specifically was a conversation between him and JP Finley, and he was upset that, or he said that he was a little, he gets what's the words? Because I have the information up right now. I just hadn't. Give me 2 seconds. He said, oh, here we go. He said that he gets guarded during pressers because of the negativity. And he would love he would love to talk about how well some players played, right? Like, he loved for people to ask him about Benjamin St. Juste because he played well. He would love for people to ask about Cam Curl because he played well. Duron Payne, he played well. Like, these are names that came out of his mouth in this conversation with JP Finley. And I'm like, just a week ago, Ron, again, like I always say, he sticks his foot in his mouth. You said when somebody asked you about how Jamin Davis played in a post-game presser that Jamin Davis played bad. And time is running out on Jamin Davis. All these other things about how Jamin Davis has to get better. Like, there's no more time. Like, he's running out of time, essentially. So when somebody gives you that floor about a player that 2 days later after you said that, you said actually had a good game, like, some of these things you walk into the trouble by yourself. You start the fire. And you can't get upset at the media or try to blame the media for them being negative. Now, obviously, like your perspective in terms of like Ron Rivera, your perspective, if you think that the media can be negative, okay, that's one thing. But if you're talking about how players you're being asked about players, or you're being asked about situations when you really want to focus on the good, when you really want to focus on some of the players that played well, Ron Rivera, your team just got smoked. Like you got shut out in the first half, two straight weeks, 46-0 in the first two halves of both games. You look terrible against the Eagles offensively on one side of the ball. Why would anybody be concerned about who played well when your team got smoked? It's a team game, right? Like those are the things. So altogether, what I say is, I just think when he talks about accountability, the most important part, I think that Ron just really doesn't understand to this day that, like, sure, we want this team to win. Sure, this market wants this team to win. Sure, the media wants this team to win, right? But you got to understand that even when, like, think about that 4-game win streak that you had, Ron. Like, do you think all of those questions that you were being asked after these games were more focused about negative questions? I'm pretty sure they were positive. I'm pretty sure they were interested in seeing how you were able to keep this win streak together for 2+ games, 3+ games, and ultimately 4. So I just think that Ron is misguided, but ultimately to really change the path, you have to drastically make some changes up front, because if that offensive line cannot protect from the interior inside out, Wentz is doomed from a production standpoint, from a mentality standpoint, and ultimately you're not going to be able to win or sustain anything with this offense.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, like you said, man, like he has to start, like you said, holding people accountable. You have to start, Ron loves to say, one of his favorite quotes is, "You can't draw me a map if you've never been."
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's one of his favorite quotes. Okay, but start drawing your players a map. Because right now they don't look like they have any kind of guidance, no GPS, no navigation anywhere. So at some point, Ron, when the hell are you going to draw them a map? That's what I'm waiting for. And we've been waiting 3 years for it. 3 years in, we're still talking about players looking lost in the field. Players still playing out of position. Players still that look like they don't know what's going on. I mean, you put a guy out there, Rashad Wildgoose, out there in the slot cornerback. That guy looked like he had no business playing on an NFL field that game. I mean, I'm sorry, because he actually was in good position and in good coverage. But for some reason, he feels like he has to grab a guy 20 yards downfield, and that's the rules of a defensive back. You cannot grab them that far down the field. And it was just his instinctive nature to do so. So it's like, you got guys out there that just look like they don't belong on a football field. And that's, to me, coaching, because they're just not responding to whatever you're telling them. So like I said, with Ron, he says eventually at some point, if he wants to succeed here, he's really going to have to draw a readable map to his players and his coaching staff, where everybody can just look at it and say, we get where you're going and we're going here.
Yeah, I mean, whenever he talks, and especially when it's long-winded, you just realize that he doesn't necessarily coach up him and his staff. They don't coach up the players. You're talking about guys from big-time programs, Alabama, Ohio State, Texas, Penn State, like – a lot of these guys play in the SEC. They're coming from big-time programs, and you're telling me that they don't understand what you're saying to them as if you're speaking Spanish? Like, nah, it's you and your staff. You're not coaching guys up. That's why these things are happening, and you're not taking responsibility for the fact that you aren't coaching guys up. I don't remember the exact quote, but Mike Tomlin, emphasized on this in an episode on the Pivot this summer. It's certain people that don't want to coach up guys. They look at certain guys and they pick out like, oh, this person doesn't do this well. Well, I'm the type that I want to bring in guys and teach them how to get better at that and coach them up. They always kind of want the finished product. I think that's a lot of the reason why Jahad Dotson was drafted over, let's say, a Jameson Williams or perhaps even a Kyle Hamilton, because he played 4 years at Penn State. So he got a lot of reps at a high level in a big conference. They don't have to really coach him up much. He's already who he is. And, you just don't see that happening. If you're going to go young in a lot of these positions, you're going to have to coach guys up And if you look at a lot of the transactions, that's why you see a lot of the former Panther players coming in, because they don't want to coach guys up. They want to utilize guys that already know their system somewhat and they have a familiarity with, and they don't have to really spend time with. That's why you got a Trey Turner and Andrew Norwell.
I made a joke the other day, bro. I was like, cause I'm like, but I was dead serious too, cause like the way they sign some of these guys, and I specifically pointed this at Trey Turner and Andrew Norwell. I was like, bro, when y'all brought these motherfuckers in, did y'all even look at an updated scouting report on these guys, or did you go off the scouting report that y'all had from like 2017 or 2016? Because there is no way that you looked at both of these guys and said, "Hey man, hey scouts, all right, hey, excellent job, hey, come on in, Norwell, come on in, Turner, we believe in you, we like what you saw from 2021." Bro, there's no way that they looked at any updated scouting reports on these guys.
It's because, for example, those two guards, Norwell and Turner, they ended up making all pros and Pro Bowls in their tenureship with the Carolina Panthers under Ron Rivera. So he's automatically going back to that. And like I said, he doesn't have to teach them. And they're probably going to be without jobs. I mean, Andrew Norwell went from being the highest paid guard in NFL history to having to come here and sign for $8 million easily. So that just tells you the drop off that the league's seen in him overall. Like, he really had no interest. Trey Turner, Steelers have a lot of O-line issues. They ain't even bring that man back. Like, that tells you everything you need to know right there. Like, these guys were once upon a time good. They're no longer good. Like, they're washed. And, you ended up losing Eric Flowers, who, I'm not going to sit here and say he's all pro, but he had a dog to him. Like,
he played well here.
He played good here.
Yeah, he played well here. Like, I mean, some people wanted to write him off as a first-round bust, but he's athletic and he's a dog. And let's not even go too far back, but Trent Williams. Like, you let Trent go for, a third and a fifth-round pick? All off of your own stubbornness. You created a whole hole at left tackle, the best tackle in the game, probably NFL history. You let him go because you didn't want to upgrade his contract. Like, it's just stubbornness.
This is the thing that annoyed me, and I was just kind of mentioning it with my point is that, like, they are stuck on what they feel like. If this is who I like, he's playing, he's starting. Not only are we signing him, but he's playing, he's starting. And I go back to Trey Turner, because if you look, Trey Turner wasn't even available all goddamn training camp, but he was penciled in as the starting right guard. Even if Wes Schweitzer looked better at right guard, Trey Turner was penciled in from day one, regardless of whether he played a training camp snap or not. And that's what pisses me off about this team, because it's like they didn't care about having. And this is one thing that Ron kind of talks about. Ron always says every position is up for competition. I don't think that's the case. I think they already know from day one who they're going to start and who they're not going to start, and that's like I said, Trey Turner for me was validation of that, because this guy didn't play all goddamn training camp, and he hadn't been in your system last year. Wes Schweitzer was actually in your system and actually looked pretty solid last year at the guard position, but from all accounts, he was always going to back up Trey Turner. The only reason he's starting now because he's moving in at center, a spot that he shouldn't be playing. So that's the type of shit I'm talking about that really pisses me off.
Like I said, man, Ron does not want to coach guys up.
Somebody mentioned Landon Collins. Another thing that I thought about was Ron Darby was a name. Now it's similar. It's in a similar boat of Eric Flowers, like in the sense of he's not a guy where you're going to sit here and say that he's a world beater. But what he did for you in 2020 is sustainable moving forward, and you chose to get rid of him to bring in a guy that was unfamiliar with you in terms of what you wanted, and you had a guy who was clearly functional and productive. I think he led the league in PBUs in Washington, because teams kept trying him and he kept knocking that shit down. And Ron Darby, and he moved on to Denver, and he's part of a solid secondary over there. So I just think that the way in which they think that somebody's either replaceable or like that they can rely on some old friends is really harming them, and they're making a bed in the decisions that they make.
You can add KPL to that list too. KPL,
Kevin Pierre-Louis,
linebacker here. Yeah, Kevin Pierre-Louis, but that's another guy they let go, and they haven't been able to replace him since.
Yeah, and Darby's a friend of mine, so during that process, like, he wanted to stay here. and he wasn't asking for the amount of money that William Jackson was going to get paid. They just ain't really present a real offer to him. So, I mean, yeah, like I said, man, I don't want to coach guys up. And if you do good for them, if they pick you up, they're not going to keep you around either. I mean, we've seen it in DeAndre Carter. What was the real reason of him not being re-signed? Signed for $1 million.
They signed him last year.
They signed him for $1 million. He produces. You had a kick returner, punt returner. He scored on special teams. Then he also played in the wide receiver game, and now you see him in with the Chargers playing wide receiver, making plays over $1 million.
Yeah, man. Things ain't good right now. Let's go ahead and catch up with some of the comments. I see you over there on Twitch, Montel. Man said AJ name is hilarious. Scott don't know what's going on. Slim playing Madden. And then let's go ahead and go to the YouTube side. What we got? Oh Lord, there's a lot of comments. I appreciate everybody checking in. Appreciate everybody staying in the chat, keeping things active. Let me just start over here. Al2 said, I'm skeptical. Jesus Christ, of Chris Harris.
Skeptical. No, I don't even know what you said.
I don't know what I said, bro. Skeptical of Chris Harris. He don't teach those dudes to go for. Oh, that's another thing too. Al2, brother. I don't know too much about Harris. I'm skeptical. I said that much as well myself. In prior episodes, but I'm gonna read his comment and then talk about it. But he said he don't teach those dudes to go for picks. They only ever look for PBUs. Also, zero punches or strip attempts at the ball. It's poor coaching for real. To Al2's point, not necessarily about what Harris is or isn't teaching these guys, but I think the overall theme to what Al2 was getting at is nobody on this defense looks to make a play. Like they're so and I think we talked about this last episode. I think they're just too hyper focused on doing their job and being in the right position that they don't even look to like, hey, I'm gonna go for this ball. I'm gonna make this play on the ball, or I'm gonna go ahead and get this rip, get this strip sack, get this ball out the running back's hand, get this ball out the receiver hands. Like, it's not many people going for plays, trying to create turnovers for this team. And I don't know to what point. I don't even know if they realize it. Like, I really don't know. Like, Kendall Fuller is sometimes, he's, again, above average cornerback, but even when he has opportunities to make plays on the ball, he's going for the deflection. He's not going for a pick. And I think he only really trusts himself when he's near the line of scrimmage to go for a pick. And I may be wrong on that. That's just off the top of my head, thinking about, how he's made plays in recent years. Or if things have been gifted to him, just like William Jackson, like some of the plays that he made last year, they were gifted to him. He had to get under the football, but none of these guys are really there to make a play. They just want to do their job. Let's go ahead and go through some more. Where we at? Talking about individuals and sets, but it's a team game. Hawk mentioned, what's going on, Hawk? Out two, I watched Sirianni wearing a Maddox pick. Corey mentioned, and then they say this in group, this was their best defensive effort. I've seen at least 10 big plays that the Eagles had in that game. If that's the best our defense can do, that's our season. They did have like 6 or 7 explosive plays too, and all of those primarily came in the second quarter. A lot of those I don't even know. Like, that's just one-on-one. Their players better, and that's not good. But you need somebody to step up. That's point blank period on that side of the ball. Dallas is going to be a problem because if you can't force turnovers at the rate that you're doing, you essentially have forced 0 turnovers in this season. Like, yes, I'm taking away the Jacksonville game where Trevor Lawrence just threw up a dumbass heave at the end of the game. At the end of the game, by the way. So, like, you were really not forced.
Only damn turnover we forced.
Yeah. So, like, to this point, it's like somebody has to step up on that side of the ball from a turnover standpoint as well. Nobody cares about Cooper. Yeah, Cooper Rush. Like, who? Like, somebody mentioned if we lose to Cooper Rush on Sunday, I'm like, bruh, have you not seen in the last 2 games he beat the Bengals, or the team that he started on has beat the Bengals and obviously had a good comeback win against the Giants. Come on now, it's not if we lose to Cooper Rush. Cooper Rush is capable of beating us. It is what it is. Like, he's shown that much. Alex checked in. This is the same team that signed Curtis last year when he was hurt. Let's go. JB said we should have kept Flowers. Corey said might as well cut Fuller because he's getting beat. Pause all over the I'm saying right now that Brian Callahan will be the next head coach. Book it. All right, so Kenneth asked us a question. What's going on, Kenneth? What's going on, Tony? Protect stopped in for a second as well. Kenneth asked us, how do you guys think the O-line will try to adjust to Dallas's pass rush? I can't imagine Scott Turner game of not scoring points in the first half. Let's go ahead and end it with this one. Not necessarily that question, but something similar to this. And it was to the conversation that we had in the group chat. AJ, Dallas is important. You can't go. Bottom line, I don't think you go 1-3, fellas. But an extension to this conversation was this. At what point does the business side and football side cross paths again if things continue to slide? And what I meant by this exactly is you're in your first year to rebuild, but coincide with the new year, the rebuild. Excuse me. Or the rebrand. Sorry, you're 1 year into your rebrand, but crossing paths with that is Ron Rivera trying to right the ship from an actual football standpoint, and with it being a poor football product, and you're teetering on the brink of 1-3, given how you're playing going into the game, and given how Dallas has overcome their injury at quarterback, and obviously that defense is playing really good. This is a situation where, like, if things continue to slide, it's impossible to sit here and say, like, I think this is probably like your worst case scenario if you're Ron Rivera, knowing that, you know, this is your third year and things haven't gotten better for you. And the business side, like that clean slate, like you're going to lose customers again if you go 1-3. Like it's no, like whoever, all of those people that, like, just like last year, all of those people who were there for the Giants game, for the Chargers game to start the season, once you started losing, the fan base started dwindling again. And same thing this year. You had a fan base that was very active in that first game of the season against the Jaguars. But guess what's going on now? Like, obviously, Philly is always going to be a tough game, but ultimately, when you continue to lose, you're going to get outnumbered again at your very next home game. If not, like, you're going to start losing people who were showing up and believing in that new product. I see people on Twitter who are actually season ticket holders talking about they're contemplating selling their tickets or just not going. So that's kind of what my question is to you all. At what point does that business side and football side cross paths again for Ron Rivera and his team? But also 1-3. You can't have that happen. You have to find a way to beat Dallas.
I mean, I think it always cross paths, especially when, you know, you go from being a story franchise named the Washington Redskins to a football team to now a name that nobody expected to be called and not really favorable within the fan base that you have left over from all the misery of, you know, the tenureship of, whether some people want to say the owner or the coaches that have been brought in to run the franchise. So it goes hand in hand. I mean, if you're winning on the field, it'll translate to positivity in the business aspect. I mean, we all live here in the Washington, D.C. area. When the Washington Nationals came here from being the Montreal Expos, you know, people were kind of excited at the fact that baseball was in town, but it wasn't like a big boom, like it wasn't a big deal. And once they started improving and getting better and winning, and now they end up winning a World Series, you know, the attendance and also the fan base is at a high point. I mean, maybe not now because of like the players that they got rid of, like a Juan Soto and so on. But even look at the Washington Capitals. Like I think they were probably competitive, maybe off the top of my head, back in like 1998. And then for a time period, they weren't really as competitive. Then it grew back up. Alex Ovechkin came in the mix. They started winning, being very competitive, and ended up competing for a Stanley Cup and winning. The fan base, you know, grew. But if you're not winning and you also got a shitty-ass team name, you also got shit going on in the media every other day with your owner and sexual allegations and assaults and different things, like it crossed paths. I can't really say that you can't start 1-3 because I expect next time that we end up talking to one another and being able to.
AJ, we got to talk from the team perspective, man. I know what you think. You know they can't start 1-3 though, bro. They can't survive that. They cannot even for Ron to save his season. You cannot. like 1-3 with the way the division is going. Eventually, Dallas will go to 3-1. New York has started off good 2-1, and obviously Philly's 3-0. And now you're 1-3, and you're talking about you gotta all of a sudden get on a magical 3 to 4 game win streak to get back in the division. It's not going. You can't do it.
What's going to change when they lose to Dallas over the weekend though? What changes?
Look, at that point, we gotta be a fly on the wall when Dan calls him. Hey man, hey Ron, I need you to get your shit together, player.
So we're on here before we start closing out the show. If they lose to Dallas Cowboys, let's just say, okay, in general they lose, but let's say if they lose really bad to them, do you guys expect Daniel Snyder to call down and be like, "Hey, Ron, you're not coming back to DC with us"? You expect him to be fired the next day?
No, like,
what are we expecting? Okay, so then there's nothing that's going to change. It's like
I think
we kind of know the inevitable. Like we saying last night, Daniel Jones can move in the pocket. He doesn't have the greatest pocket awareness, but he can move. He can create outside of the pocket. He can go for runs. Carson Wentz used to be able to do that. He doesn't do that anymore. He's going to get punished. That's why my name says, can God play left tackle, left guard, right guard, and center? Because he's going to need God on Sunday in order to be able to protect him. Because it's Michael Parsons. He has an all-day motor, and he was sick. He was sick yesterday. So he's going to be healthy. He's going to be boosted back up. He's going to take some immune shots, whatever. He's going to be 110%. You can't stop that. There's nothing that they can do in season, and we know that they're not going to make the adjustments. Like Dre mentioned, why not give Chris Paul a look? Maybe why not try Sadiq Charles? Maybe use Cornelius Lucas. Why not move? Like I said, Kendall Fuller. He's a ball hawk. Like Kendall's always been a ball hawk. Move him to free safety. He's played it before in Kansas City. Very productive there. Made an interception at free safety in the Super Bowl to help Kansas City win. Move Bobby McCain possibly to slot or put that motherfucker on the bench. Try some other things out, but they're too stubborn to do that. So it's like nothing's going to change. It's just unfortunate that we as fans and this fan base has to go through the same process again, even with a new name. But, if they start winning, fans will come back. Fans will spend their hard-earned money, but it's hard for me to tell fans to go to FedEx Field and pay $80 for parking, $100 and some per ticket, $13 for some chicken tenders that taste like ass, $18 for a drink when this team ain't competitive. And in the last two first halves of your last two games, you've been outscored 46-0.
Man, look, so we can sit up here and talk about them losing. That's one thing, but you have to look like a professional football franchise out there. And last week, the last couple of weeks, like I just said, in the first half, they didn't. Especially you look at the Eagles game. That's a home game we were already talking about before the game. Eagles fans are going to travel well. Eagles fans are going to pack the stadium. The Eagles fans they packed the stadium. They may have been the majority, but the truth of the matter is, you didn't look like a professional franchise at all. At any point in this football game, you were damn near going to the fourth quarter, still down 24 donut until you got a damn safety. And that's the only points you could score at one point in this game. So that's a common occurrence in DC. This is a common occurrence. People that I talked to that went to that game on Sunday just talked about how that was a horrible experience. FedEx isn't the great experience, from the get-go as far as stadiums go. But then when you're paying money to go out there anyway, and your team is still laying eggs like they did, that was just a straight up egg that they laid on Sunday. You keep doing that, it's hard to get people to buy into your rebrand and say, yeah, I'm back to, being a Commanders fan and this, that, and the third. People came on that first day. Now, one thing is we've been talking about it, but they downsized the stadium. I feel like they're downsizing it every year. Like every year they're taking seats out of the stadium, probably because they know they can't sell out and Dan needs to sell out. But fans showed up for Jacksonville. Granted, it's Jacksonville. You're not going to have a lot of traveling Jacksonville fans, and they were loud, but it was the first game of a rebuild or a rebrand, and they actually put on a win. They looked exciting. They looked like an NFL franchise that first game, even if, they made some mistakes and Jacksonville could have won, yada, yada, yada. But Washington
really good game.
They looked like a pro franchise that day. But they didn't look like a pro franchise against the Eagles. And it's not just the isolated experience for a lot of people that go out to FedEx. That's a common occurrence, especially in the Ron Rivera era. I mean, there's been a stat going around talking about how many blowouts has been going on in Ron Rivera's era. So I do look at this week as a code red game, not as a code red as in, Ron Rivera's going
Dre, I swear to God, I didn't say that, but I have said that like over the past couple of days. Like I've used that. You got the floor, but I've used those exact terms, code red, bro.
Mm-hmm. No, it is a code red game because now you're in danger and this is Dallas week. Dallas week used to mean something around here. It doesn't really mean much nowadays, but this is Dallas week. You go out there and you lay an egg against Dallas. Even the diehards, I mean, the people y'all talk about in these Twitter spaces and all of this, that, the third, they're going to start to say, you know what, I'm sick of this shit. People, everyone has a breaking point. I don't care how loyal you think you are, or whatever the case may be, but people have a breaking point. And so far, like I said, we won the first game, but the last 2 games, they've given us nothing. I mean, nothing at all to really hang our head on. And then you go out there and you lay an egg on Dallas week 1 and 3. Like I said, Ron Rivera wouldn't be fired. And to AJ's point, Dan Snyder not going to call down there and, say, hey, Ron, I need you to go. But there's going to be some hot pressure on him. We talked about this before the season in that, there's a very little chance that Ron Rivera could be fired after this season. But if things go just straight to the dump, I mean, the worst case scenario where they just look embarrassing out there, he's going to go, especially with the schedule we talked about, this easy schedule they're supposed to have. But now they're looking bad. Like they look like they should be part of anyone's easy schedule. So if they are, really, really bad this season, Ron is out of here, man.
Yo, Washington right now is probably top 3, one of the worst teams in the league right now. Like even the Giants that we thought were going to be bad, Giants look straight.
Look, if we can sweep them, I'm happy. That was my one prediction.
Yeah, maybe Daniel Jones ain't it, but like, they look more competent as a team than Washington does.
Okay, last thing. Yes or no's. I'm gonna go through this list because AJ brought us something. All right, yes or no's for 1 or 2. It's a couple 1 and 2 teams, if not winless. Here we go. Can Washington beat? Can you say without a shadow of a doubt? That's the question. Can Washington beat New England?
No.
Yes or no?
Yes.
New York Jets. Okay, New York Jets.
Yes.
No.
Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh.
Yes.
No.
Cincinnati.
Hold on. Can you preface that again? Without a shadow of a doubt.
Without a shadow of a doubt, do you think that Washington can beat this team? And we went through the few teams. So like not that they have.
Dre believes that Washington can beat Pittsburgh Steelers. Is it because Trubisky?
I think they're capable. That's the question. Now, whether they can,
no,
that's
shadow of a doubt.
Yeah. Shadow of a doubt. I mean,
would you put your money?
Is that a loaded question? I don't know. I don't know if I did y'all a disservice. I don't know.
Yeah, no,
we're not even.
Okay, let's do this. Would you bet? Let's just $100.
Okay, yeah, that's better. I got it. Yeah.
All right, if we doing that, that's a different story. We talking about betting. That's a whole different story. Now we talk.
Okay.
See,
that's a shadow without a doubt. You only gonna put your money. You only gonna put your money up if you feel.
No, but see,
okay.
If you ask me, can or are they capable? Yes, they can. Yes, they are capable. Will they? No, I don't think.
All right.
That's let's run through the money aspect, because if you don't bet money, you're hoping that more than likely you're optimistic that you're going to win. So let's look at it from that standpoint.
But I say they beat Jacksonville, who I think is going to be solid this season. They probably are better than a couple of those teams.
They should have lost that damn game.
That's why. Well, I mean, they didn't. They beat them. But so that's what I'm saying. They can beat these teams. But whether
here we go.
Or not, that's a different answer.
All right, so we stopped at Pittsburgh. Here we go. Cincinnati.
Hell no.
Indy.
Yes, they can beat them. Yes.
All right.
Indy. AJ, where you at? Indy, what's up? What's up with it?
Hell nah. Dre just said that they could beat Cincinnati Bengals. They can't defend one wide receiver. They're going to defend 3?
They can.
Tennessee.
Yes, they
Tennessee. They're 1 and 2. Okay, where you at, AJ?
No.
Houston. 2-1.
Yes, they can beat Houston.
They can beat Houston.
Okay. Where we at? Chargers, LAC.
No, they can't beat Chargers. No.
Raiders 0-3.
Yes, they
Hell
can
no.
beat the Raiders.
Hell no.
They beat them last
Detroit
year.
1 and oh damn, we already played Detroit. Fuck it, never mind. And we're there 1 win. I'm going through the list. All right, New Orleans 1-2.
Yes, they can
Nope.
beat New Orleans.
Carolina 1-2.
Yes, they can beat Carolina.
AJ. Matt Rule is ass, bruh.
He's terrible.
Nah, he's ass,
he's probably
But
worse than Ron.
they defense pretty damn good though.
All right, that's fair.
That they could win that.
That's a no for AJ. Just go ahead and put no. Yes, actually,
Hey.
yes for AJ. That's a yes for AJ. That's a yes.
Okay, there we
He just
go.
didn't
All
want
right,
to see it.
Atlanta 1-2.
Oh, they gonna lose that game.
They can.
They gonna lose. That's on the schedule. They gonna
Oh, we
lose
do
that
play.
game.
Yeah, I forgot we playing.
Yes,
Okay, here we go. Last
Or
three,
maybe
y'all.
it's-
Last three.
It's next week actually, right?
No. I think it's towards the end of the season. Let me double check because we do playing for sure.
Yeah,
we got
like week 9 or 12. something
week
like that.
12.
So
Yeah,
who
week
they play
12.
next week?
We might play Tennessee. I think
We got
after
Dallas.
Cowboys. After
And
Cowboys.
then after that is
after Dallas.
Yeah.
I thought it was Atlanta.
No.
my bad. Nah, that's Tennessee. It's Dallas and then
It's
home versus Tennessee. All right, here we go. Last three. Arizona 1-2.
No sir.
No.
Kyler Murray, bad kid running ass is gonna be all over.
They
that
don't know
field.
how to contain scrambling quarterbacks, so no.
Seattle 1-2.
Yes, they can beat Seattle.
All right, well, we're gonna find this one out very soon. Here we no, is he on the schedule? Nah, here we go. Yeah, this one. San Francisco. That's week 16.
No.
No.
There it is, man. A very interesting exercise, but you know, some of these games they're not even gonna play. But ultimately, man, Ron Rivera has to get their shit together. Fellas, ladies, appreciate everybody who watched. Corey said AJ is hilarious. Hawk said Brandon Cook says no. Y'all got Houston messed up. And Al too said if we get shut
Dre-
out, Ron should be
Dre
fired
just-
on Monday.
You know what's funny? Dre is so frustrated with this team, bro. Like
I am.
before we started week 1, he was so positive. He was full of life, energy.
people a fair
He's still in
chance.
the month of September. It's only
I respect that.
We going into week 4. This man is fed up. He's like,
Yeah.
fuck this shit.
Look, for me, I always give people benefit of doubt until you show me you ain't shit. Once you show me you ain't shit, I give you a chance to show me you ain't shit. Once you show me you ain't shit, I'm gonna tell you ain't shit. That's just how I roll.
That's why this shit is so hilarious doing these episodes, bro. Because I'm seeing it change per week. Jacksonville was kind of hyped. He was like, you know, Scott
We need to get an
Taylor,
editor so we can like actually put it in the video and monitor everybody's progress. AJ the only
Great.
one who's been like consistently, man, I don't give a fuck if we beat Jacksonville or not. Fire him. that's all AJ all the time, bro.
Because
Me
I
and
can
Dre is a
smell-
little different.
I could smell the shit from a mile away, dog. Like I know what it is with this dude. Like I've seen the writing on the wall. It's just up to others around me to see the writing on the wall. And you know, fortunately, let me hit my soft voice, my soft life voice. Dre, you're coming over to my side.
You see, if I ever
Hey,
join
what that
AJ's
mean?
side, it's a temporary thing. It ain't no permanent thing. Me, I'll be on AJ's side temporarily. That shit ain't.
He gonna be back in a few months.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
All right. Hey, with that being said, hey, great episode, great chat, man. I love the energy with everybody, man. Appreciate everybody who checked in live, and everybody that's gonna be watching afterwards. Make sure you hit that like button again. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. The fellas will be back Thursday. Reminder: no post game show Sunday. And the week of next week, due to work travel, is looking a little sketchy. So we may try to get one going Monday for a stream that can hold us throughout the week or something like that. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there. So again, yeah, I'll be back tomorrow morning for the Commanders morning show. We'll do a film breakdown of what the good, the bad, mostly bad with these guys. But you know, we'll go through the film session tomorrow morning and chop it up in that way as well. So with that being said, we out of here. Y'all be safe. Enjoy y'all evening. All that good stuff, man. Peace.